Good evening, my friends and acquaintances. The Ranter is back for another one of his attempted structured videos on the politics of the day. And I'd like to start with just mentioning a few incidents that has happened since the campaign up into the current presidency of Mr. Trump. Now, first thing I want to mention is an incident that happened during the campaign where two guys decided to horribly beat a homeless man using a metal pipe and urinating on him with the excuse that he was an illegal immigrant. And the cops saying using rhetoric that Trump used. I kind of remember this because when brought up, Trump defended them saying, well, they are just being patriotic, committing assault on an innocent person. Patriotic. Okay. The next one was a incident that happened actually at a campaign rally where there was a protester and security got the protester. They were carting him out, and one of Trump's supporters, an old guy, decided that to take some pot shots at this guy while he was being restrained. You know, a couple of punches to the face and such. And when one of the reporters who was nearby went and interviewed this guy rattled on about people like the protesters, and if we see him come back, we may just have to kill him. And then you have the Trump superfan who displayed his love of Trump all over his stupid little van, who went from campaign rally to campaign rally to identify him as the superfan, and also in his spare time was getting a lovely little enemy list and getting bombs together to mail to them, and he was arrested. But the superfan was inspired to protect and defend Mr. Trump. The next one was a Coast Guard lieutenant, who was discovered to have stockpiled a load of weapons and had his own enemy list of Democratic rivals of Mr. Trump, as well as media personalities who were critics, that he was going to go with his stockpile of weapons and shoot them up, also being on various drugs and performance enhancers in order to make sure he had the will to do so. And then you have El Paso, where little Patrick drove 9 hours from his home to go and hunt them invading Mexicans in El Paso. And within his manifesto, echoed a lot of what Trump was saying. Detecting a pattern here. And then, only a few days ago, a man from Milwaukee has been arrested and accused of throwing acid into the face of a guy. A citizen born in Peru. Another one of these men inspired to make America great again by going after them invaders. Mahmoud Villas, who came to America in 2001 and became a U.S. citizen in 2013, suffered second-degree burns after a man threw acid on him. Villiers told police his attacker accused him of invading the United States. Villiers, 42, said in Wednesday's news conference he feels better and he wants to move on from the situation. Good for him. It's been wonderful to see that there are so many people who worry about others, not only Latinos, but white people, everyone, he said in Spanish. When asked to answer in that language, let's unite and live in peace with our neighbors. That's total invader behavior, isn't it? The criminal complaint says Blackwell, who was the man that was accused of throwing the acid on him last week, yelled at Villiers for parking his truck too close to the bus stop. The defendant then states, "Why are you invading my country? Why don't you respect my laws?" Villiers moved the truck, the complainant said, the complaint says, and Blackwell yelled, "Well, why did you invade my country?" Again, he told Villiers to go back, and it called Villiers illegal. The assistant district attorney Alex Mueller writes in the complaint. Villiers said that he called Blackwell a racist, something, and said all Americans came from somewhere else. The complainant said, "Oh, geez, he hit him with truth. Oh no!" And that's when Blackwell threw a liquid in Villiers' face, and later police found acids at Blackwell's home. Now, why am I bringing up all this? What could be reason for me to list these over and over again? Oh, I don't know. To prove in multiple instances that Trump supporters who are easily incitable can be incited to violence, whether it was intentional or not intentional, that they just get it through their heads that go, "Oh well, he's an enemy of my patron, so I better go and protect him," and commit violence or attempt to commit violence or plan to commit violence. And why am I bringing all this up? These are the reasons why the whistleblower should remain anonymous. From the moment the whistleblower came out and there was a scramble to find out who he is, until two Trump supporters who, what was it, Jacob Wall and somebody else, who are Fruit Loops anyway, who accused Elizabeth Warren of having an affair with a younger Marine and doing BDSM stuff, to which when I heard that I say, good for her. But these two assholes put up $50,000 bounty on the head of this whistleblower to get his name. But now you got people who want to violate the whistleblower laws and demand that his or her name be put to the public. Rand Paul demands the media to do its job and release the name. He blocked legislation in the Senate, I think just the other day, on the further protection of whistleblowers. He says that, I may just release the name himself. Donald Trump Jr. allegedly outed the name of this whistleblower, or who he assumed was a whistleblower. Fortunately, I didn't see the name, and I don't want to see the name. So I'm not going to report on any name. Donald Trump himself demands that the whistleblower come forward so he can meet his accuser, or to face his accuser. Well, that's rhetoric for a trial. There's no trial here. We're not even at the Senate stage of the impeachment. We're still in the inquiry, which I know is very confusing for some people. But yeah, Republicans are flailing with the information that they've been receiving, and and so they want to have a scapegoat, they want to have an out. So Rand Paul and various others, people in the House, uh, want the name of the whistleblower, and they go so far as Republicans saying that they're going to subpoena the whistleblower for the first, not the first, but when we get to the open hearings, when we get to see this on TV. The reasons I brought up all those incidents is why the whistleblower's name should be anonymous. Because there are people out there that would harm him or her, that would harm their family, that would at least threaten to, for daring to stand up against Trump or whatever melodramatic thing that they talk about. Here's the thing. The information the whistleblower gave is turned out to be true. And the reason why we know that it's true is that we have 4 people from the State Department, from ambassadors and envoys on down, from the National Security Council, testify that the information he or she brought forward upon the Ukrainian call was accurate and it was a quid pro quo. And we know this because the behavior of the Republicans after these 4 testimonies, how you now start seeing that the Republicans are going out there and saying that, well, they first said there was no quid pro quo, and then they're saying, well, there could be a quid pro quo. Yeah, there could be, but it's not illegal. No. Like the same people who earlier would say that if there was a quid pro quo, then yeah, they will totally consider impeachment and bring it up on the table and discuss it. But now that this is now a more solid thing that in fact, yes, there was, now they're saying, oh, well, yes, it was, but I don't know what to do. The information the whistleblower gave, that he or she presented, that was initially blocked, that they're trying to prevent this from coming forward to the Congress. This information is already in the ethers. It's already out there. So there's not too many reasons why this person needs to be revealed. Because no matter what motivation you're going to tack on to this person, the information is valid. The information is true. It has been testified by 4 individuals corroborating it. That, yeah, these things happened. Down to the point that the transcript had to get altered. And that the person tried desperately to put the stuff that was omitted from the transcript back into the transcript so it wouldn't be lying. So the only reason for this person's identity to be revealed is for that person to be harmed. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, that saying that this harm is just official harm, like the person is going to get fired or the person is going to get some type of legal consequence over doing a legal thing. I'm not going to assume, at least officially, I'm not going to assume that they want this person's identity out because they want them physically harmed by, say, 1 or 2 or 3 of these easily incitable Trump supporters who take it upon themselves to mail bombs to Democratic rivals that stockpile weapons in a future event of shooting up Democratic and media rivals and critics. That there might be another guy that could drive 9 hours from home just to slaughter some innocent people just because they happen to be Mexican. As far as that asshole knows, he was kind of indiscriminate when he was shooting. Or maybe just two guys who may find this person on the street and beat the shit out of them and urinate on them just because they're feeling patriotic. Yeah, I'm not going to assume that that's the actual motivation as to why Rand Paul wants his name out there. Or Donald Trump Jr., or Donald Trump himself. Oh no, I won't assume that. I'm going to assume that they just want this person to suffer some consequence for the actions of being a good American that understood that something was happening on that call that so disturbed them that they were sent upon to reveal it to the world. A call that was so perfect that they immediately shoved it into their private server. Once again, anything that Donald Trump accuses others of, like Hillary Clinton, her server, he does his fucking self. He has his own little server for his private conversations, stuff involving national security that is supposed to be classified. So this call from Zelensky, this perfect call, there was nothing wrong with it whatsoever. Here's the transcript. That is a call that has national security implications? Or is that just something to keep people from seeing the entire thing? So, when I hear people who demand and grandstand that this person be outed and be revealed, it reminds me of in the 2000s when Novak outed Valerie Plame, a CIA agent. There are reasons for names to be omitted from record to protect themselves and to protect their families and to protect their assets. How many people could have suffered because of Valerie's name being put out there as an active CIA agent in the field? All for politics. That aside, we'll set aside the whistleblower for now. Then we'll talk about something that's kind of a byproduct of it. The moving of the goalposts that Republicans are doing in order to continue to defend their patron at the expense of their own record, their own pride, their own persona, what they project in their own personal values. As we said in multiple videos, these people who grandstand talking about being not part of the process, questioning the process, saying that they're being shut out, that there are no Republicans in there to take testimony, read evidence, or ask questions. More and more that turns out to be bullshit. Because it seems, according to recent articles, is that those 40 or so Republicans that are involved in these committees that can be in there It absolutely can be in there, absolutely read testimony and evidence, and absolutely can ask questions, don't show up. They don't show up to the committee meetings so they can stand outside saying they're being shut out. This again reminds me of during the first inklings of the Affordable Care Act, how Republicans saying that they were being shut out. This is a backroom deal, that they're being shut out and it's not fair, when they could be in the meeting and they chose not to for political theater. And here it is again. Lindsey Graham ping-pongs because of his deranged loyalty to this man. I mean, how many revolutions of turning does John McCain have to do in his grave because of his best friend? You know, he goes from, if there's a quid pro quo, I want to see it, to there is no quid pro quo, to I want to see some evidence, to now saying he doesn't want to read any of it. It's a sham. It's BS. He doesn't want to read any of it. What the fuck is wrong with you, Miss Lindsay? What is wrong to having to what happened to the integrity that you're supposed to have? You know, is it a trait that is failing in politics, that if you get called out on something, you know, instead of being like a man or a woman, you know, but it's at least someone with integrity, that you take and read the evidence and then you can give your judgment on it? Or is this some sort of new nuance in politics where you don't want to read the evidence because then you would have to acknowledge the evidence? It's the same thing as Republicans being outside the room when they can be in the room, saying, oh, we're shut out, we're not involved, they're not letting us be involved, when you totally can be involved and you choose not to. This is one of those things in politics, is that if it doesn't fit your narrative, then you don't involve yourself in it. Because if you happen to be in the room, then you can't claim that you were shut out, that you couldn't read evidence, you could not watch testimony, and you could not ask questions. So you choose not to be in the room, so you can continue your narrative. It's the same thing with Lindsey Graham. You have to continue the narrative to defend your president. So you will not read the evidence. You'll not read the testimony of 4 witnesses under oath that all confirm a quid pro quo. Or, you know, if that's, I wonder if people think that's just too fancy of a term. Okay, how about extortion? How about, okay, let's get you the we'll think about getting you the Javelin defensive missiles, the anti-tank weapons, because Russia is still on your eastern border committing actual military operations. But while we're doing that, you can do us a favor and investigate my political rival and the little conspiracy theory that we're running. Make that look official. You know, Ambassador Sondland had to amend his testimony, saying that, yeah, there was indeed a quid pro quo because of the testimonies of the 3 others that confirmed that it happened. Lindsey Graham came out on Fox and suggested that Sondland, well, has to be a Democratic operative, you know, working with Shift. Here's a little thing about Sondland, okay? Unlike Vindman, who is a war hero, who, even though his reputation and his actual personal history and experience, it's not something that you should trash, but Fox News did its damnedest to try to trash. Sondland got his position because he was a Trump booster. He gave millions to the Trump campaign, and as a reward for it, Sondland was given a diplomatic post when he had no experience with diplomacy. Instead of being, because what was he? What was he really? He was an agent of Donald Trump as opposed to being an agent of the United States of America, a State Department diplomat. No, he was just another one of these guys with no experience that he just installed. You get that a lot. Rick Perry, Department of Energy, doesn't know what Department of Energy does. Betsy DeVos, Department of Education, she doesn't give a shit about education. Certainly doesn't like public education. She'd rather promote homeopathic food and anything that involves her own personal fortune. Ben Carson and HUD, self-explanatory. Don't even need to go into that. So no, he had no experience, and all the reason why he was there is because he's a Trump loyalist that paid money into Trump, so he got a fancy position. He even bragged about that. But somehow he's a Democratic operative now, according to the debutante Lindsey Graham. It's moving this goalpost to doing your best to try to defend this man. It's just getting worse and worse and worse for you. We had the election Tuesday for local delegates, school board, some for governor, so forth, on this off-year elections. As a Virginian, I'm happy to say that Virginia took back both houses of our state government. So that is now Democratic. So no more of this Kenny Cuccinella attempts of vaginal probes for those women who want to make a choice. Or various other bag of horror shit that we had to deal with because the Republicans were in the majority. But another interesting thing that happened is that Trump himself went to Kentucky to support Bevin. And, you know, he did his usual spiel on how the opponent was extreme left, and he's only working for Nancy Pelosi, and this and that, and impeachment, and meh, and meh. And he pretty much, you know, you look at articles of his speech, and it sounded like he was begging the crowd to make sure that Bevin didn't win, so that the message won't look bad for him. He made it about him. He made it about him. He made it about impeachment. He made Bevin involved in the impeachment process as if a governor could do anything to stop it. Because it's the Congress to bring up the articles and it's the Senate to actually do the trial. It has nothing to do with governors. But he involved him anyway. He lumped him in anyway. And what happened? What was this ultra lefty Bashir? What did he do? He did not talk about impeachment. He talked about the politics of the state of Kentucky. And he won. For his end, it didn't become a referendum on Donald Trump, at least not officially. And what happened? Well, even though Bevin is refusing to concede and he wants there to be a recount because that's how he won the seat last time, for when it was like an 85 vote thing as opposed to over 1,000 plus votes, which is now. But what does Trump do? Where he goes all in on Bevin before the election. After the election, it has nothing to do with him, according to his son. You know, they don't want to take any further responsibility of their actions or them being involved in the Kentucky politics that perhaps Bevin lost because Trump was there inserting the impeachment for no reason, and local voters just want to deal with local politics. So yeah, that happened. Various other local politics, or various other local elections from the various states did pretty well for Democrats. It was a district, I believe, in Delaware that went Democrat for the first time since before the Civil War. And while all this is happening, there's a poll touting around that the majority of voters think that Donald Trump will get reelected again. It's whatever this poll is, people are really pushing it. You know, I can understand it actually, because I think there's people who think in one way or another that they'll find some way that by hook or by crook he'll somehow magically still regain the presidency. Be it nefarious reasons, or perhaps the Democratic candidate is not all that hot, is not getting the support, or doesn't think that they can cut it. And I can see that opinion. But we now have a midterm of 2018 that took back the House. We now have this off election where local state governments are flipping to Democrats in various states. This is still a repudiation of everything that Trump awkwardly stands for, because he can barely stand. He oozes. What's going to happen to these Republicans if and when Trump goes down, who staked themselves to him, who put their political livelihood in his grubby little hands? There was one funny quasi-interview where Mark Meadows was walking by. He didn't want to answer any questions from this reporter, and so this reporter said something to the effect of the Republicans being desperate, or and so forth. And Mark Meadows had to run back into the camera. No, we're not that. We're not that. And I was like, yeah, you're looking a little bit desperate there, buddy. Again, they only attack the process. As Trey Gowdy says, or as Mitch McConnell says, when the Democrats attack the process, they're only attacking the process because they're not in the majority. And Republicans are not in the majority, at least in the House. If they were, maybe they should push for this impeachment inquiry to get to the Senate so that they can kill it. That is the general wisdom in this, that there's too many votes on the Republican side, so beholden, and they feel the need to defend the president over their own country, that they'll save him. So, makes you wonder why they aren't pushing for that. Maybe they worry that Jeff Flake's assertion that if there was a secret vote for impeachment, that there are 30 Republicans that would vote to impeach him, to remove him, and Mitch McConnell has to tamp that down. I don't know. I'm still amongst the people that kind of feel that once impeachment hits Senate, then it dies. I mean, President of the United States is was holding aid back from Ukraine until he got assurances that they were going to investigate his political rival and his son. Think of any other president that would do that, and what a political party would do to defend it or not. I don't think people would defend it. I think people would be mortified had we not been bombarded with things that are mortifying for the past 2+ years. So I guess people are just sort of conditioned now that a scumbag is doing scumbaggy things. Says, oh, well, that's what he does. Either he goes out on his own or he actually does a full 8. That White House is going to have to get fumigated. That's a kind of an impromptu rant, but that's what sometimes rants do. Do your best to structure these things, and I did my best, but as you can see. All right, guys, I will be back for the Ranter Rants, and his urge to rant is always rising. I'll see you later.